You need them? I got them. Two start pitchers are next.
It's about that time.
Stoned on Sports.
How's it going, everybody? You are tuned into the Stoned on Sports podcast, fantasy baseball edition. As you can see, I'm flying solo today. Kyle is a little tied up so far. Today, we are going over two start pitchers. And usually we go over a few that are low owned, but today I am going over every single starting pitcher with two starts next week that's owned in 50% of leagues or fewer on Yahoo. Before I jump into that, we do got James here in the chat with the premise that Garrett Crochet is traded to a contending team. Would you trade Mackenzie Gore for him now? And do you think Crochet will be pitching in September? Thanks for your thoughts. James, really happy you decided to join us today. I do not think Garrett Crochet is going to be pitching in September. I think he's really only got a handful of starts left. Mackenzie Gore has looked pretty good, especially when you take a look at his peripherals. The team isn't the greatest, but that dude is incredibly talented. I would happily entertain that offer. I think you could get a little bit more for Garrett Crochet, but if Mackenzie Gore is all you can get, just from the standpoint of I can see him pitching well into the season and into the fantasy playoffs, I think that'd be a halfway decent get for you. Good luck, buddy. So now it is time to ask that question: to start or not to start? And the first player we are going to be asking that question about is Erick Fedde of the Chicago White Sox. He has two road starts. He is, I just lost my sheet there. He has two road starts at Seattle and at the Diamondbacks. Both teams are mid-pack in scoring the past couple weeks. However, the teams have combined for 233 strikeouts over the past couple weeks, and both teams are taking their walks as well. And let's be real, this dude is pitching better than anyone has expected. He started 13 games. He is 4-1 with a 3.27 ERA. The xFIP and xERA are in the same neighborhood. He struck out 73, walked 22 across 74 and a third innings pitched. And this dude has allowed 3 or fewer earned runs in 7 of his last 10 starts. He gets a decent amount of strikeouts despite a subpar whiff rate and swinging strike rate. And it's not because he's fooling hitters either, because the chase rate isn't that great. But he can get a strikeout when he needs one, and that's really what we're looking for. No complaints on his walk rate either. He's better than most. But where this dude does excel is in quality of contact. His exit velocity, barrel rate, and hard hit rates are all in the top third of the league. And this guy, he pitches to contact to a degree. Overall contact rates are a little bit higher than average, but nothing that's too terrible. His outside the zone contact rate is pretty high, but that often leads to weak contact. As a matter of fact, he's got a 19.2% weak contact rate, and that's in the top 20 in the league per Fangraphs. You combine that with a top 15 ground ball rate, and you can see where his success has come from, despite one of the worst defenses in baseball behind him and the worst offense supporting him. I don't really understand why he's not more highly owned, coming in at 52%. He's a number 24 starting pitcher on the season, though he is number 59 over the past few weeks, but that's still a legit rotation piece. And he's shown this season he's capable of top 5 starting pitcher results in stretches. So we got the chat popping off here a little bit. I see that Kyle is joining us. Appreciate that. Dubo's in the house. We got Sway here. This is awesome. Appreciate all of you guys joining in. But we are going to keep things moving. Next up, we have got James Paxton of the Dodgers. He's about 40% owned. He has starts against the Rangers and against Kansas City. And this dude got absolutely scorched yesterday against Pittsburgh. But looking at his two opponents coming up next week, neither team really strikes out a whole lot. They don't walk a whole lot either, which is good because Paxton doesn't strike anybody out. Both teams are putting some runs on the board, though. Paxton is a 2-pitch pitcher, and that's been the knock on him his entire career. This season, he started 11 games. He's gone 5-1 with a 4.19 ERA, but his FIP, xFIP, and expected ERA are all a run or more higher. He struck out 33, walked 30, and given up 7 home runs in just 53 2/3 innings pitched. This dude has more games with 5 or more walks, 3 of them, than with 5 or more strikeouts. He's done that just once. And as a result, you'll see his strikeout minus walk rate is a terrible 1.3%. And just to really drive that home, he's only striking out 14.2% of hitters, and he's walking 12.9%. Both of those are absolutely terrible. He's been even worse over his last 4 starts. He's got an ERA north of 8. He's given up 14 earned runs, struck out 11, walked 6, given up 4 long balls in just 15 1/3. He is the SP 150 in that time frame. This dude, look, he's a shell of what he used to be. His StatCast looks terrible. He's bottom 20% in expected ERA, expected batting average, chase rate, whiff rate, strikeout rate, and walk rate. To his credit, though, he's gone 6 or more innings 4 times, and he's gone 5 or more innings 7 times. Even then, his last 3 starts have been 4 2/3, 3 innings, and just 1 2/3. Look, the guy gets great run support, and we know what the Rangers offense can be any given day. The Royals have a 274 average and a 755 OPS versus lefties. Those are both in the top 5. I can't advise starting him in shallower leagues, but if you do, you're just hoping for the win. And quite frankly, even in deeper leagues, I'm not comfortable running him out there. So what do we got here? What has 5 toes but isn't your foot? Sway, I have no idea, brother. You got me on that one. So our next starter is somebody who also doesn't really strike out a whole hell of a lot of batters, and that's Jameson Taillon of the Cubs. He's owned in about 1/3 of leagues. He's got starts at Tampa Bay and at home against the Cardinals. Both teams have been struggling a bit to score runs lately, though neither team really strikes out a whole lot. The Rays will take their walks. The Cardinals, not so much. He missed the first few weeks of the season because of injury, but in 9 games started, he's 3-2 with an ERA of about 3.5. His expected ERA is right around there, but his xFIP is a run higher. He struck out 35, walked 13, given up 6 home runs and 49 1/3 innings pitched. And that doesn't sound too bad, I guess. He's got a very nice 6.1% walk rate. That's in the top quarter of the league. He's walking under 3 per 9, which is what we like to see. But again, there's no real strikeout upside to speak of. He's only ever been average in that category at his absolute best. But this season has been the worst of his career so far. He's striking out a little under 6.5 per 9, coming in at a 16.5% rate. His 17.6% whiff rate is in the bottom 5%. His swinging strike rate sits at just 8.2%. However, he does have the ability to fool hitters, though. 29.5% chase rate is nice, and 18.8% called strike rate is passable. At his best, he's at his best when he's managing the quality of contact, and he's really done quite well with that so far. His exit velocity is a little bit better than average. His barrel and hard hit rates are even better than that. This dude pitches to contact. His overall contact rates are well above average across the board. The ground ball rate is decent. The fly ball rate is kind of high, and he gets pulled a lot. That's going to be trouble as things warm up there at Wrigley Field. Next week, look, neither start really scares me. I'd run him out there if I had to. If I'm streaming or in a daily league, I'd start him for sure against Tampa. The Cardinals do a good job of putting the ball in play, and the Cubs defense, quite frankly, is kind of lacking this year. He's fine, I guess we'll call it. All right. Damn, we're cruising right along. Oh, we got Kelsey's here too. Appreciate you stopping by. You just missed us talking about one of your Dodger starters who's been not so great. Next up, we have got Rangers starter Dane Dunning. He has starts at the Dodgers and at Seattle. He's owned in about a quarter of leagues. Both of those starts, again, are on the road. I already don't like the Dodgers start, regardless of how they've been doing lately. Seattle is kind of intriguing because of the strikeout potential and ballpark. Dunning has started 10 games so far this year. He's an even 4-4, got a 4.09 ERA, a 118 whip. He struck out 57, walked 23, given up 10 home runs and 50 2/3 innings pitched. And looking at his line there, the strikeouts stick out immediately. He's striking out a little over 10 per 9, just under 27%. The walks are high, though. He's over 4 per 9. We want that under 3. The dude doesn't throw very hard, but he does have a 9-mile-an-hour delta between his sinker and slider. He averages about 90 miles an hour on his fastball, yet has a whiff rate over 30% and the swinging strike rate at 11.5%. And that just speaks to the movement he gets and that change in velocity. Overall, though, this dude is super inefficient. He throws just 60% strikes. And as a result, he doesn't work deep into games. He's got just 2 starts of 6 or more innings pitched. He gives up a ton of hard contact. His exit velocity, barrel rate, and hard hit rates are all in the bottom 6%. He's getting pulled and allowing fly balls at career high rates, and that helps to explain the 10 home runs he's given up. But because of the high strikeout rate, his overall contact numbers look good. He allows contact on just 73.3% of his pitches, a full 4 points below league average. And that trend holds both in and out of the zone. He's somebody I like better in leagues with daily moves. I would definitely run him out there against Seattle, but I want to avoid that Dodgers start because that team just really doesn't strike out all that much. They've got the 3rd fewest in the last 15 days, and we know what that team is capable of. I always hate when I forget to unmute my mic. So we got James in here again. Later in the show, if time permits, let him know thoughts on Luis Robert rest of season. Picked him up for free on waivers today. Here he may be traded to a contending team. James, it's absolutely awesome you are here every week. I ain't going to make you wait a minute longer. I like Luis Robert. He is a fantastic source of power and run production. If he gets moved to a contending team, the run production is going to increase even more. The power is going to play anywhere. On-base skills aren't the greatest, and he comes with his fair share of strikeouts, but he is an awesome piece. And the fact that you got him for free coming off IL, even better. That's a hell of a move there, James. Good job, buddy. We got Luis Correa in here as well. He says, yo, what's going on, brother? Appreciate you coming to hang out with us. Well, with me and everybody else there in the chat. Hell, why not? So next up, we talked about this dude a little bit last week, and that's Tylor Megill of the Mets. Not really going to go into too much detail about him, again, because we just profiled him a week ago. He's got 2 home starts against Miami and the Padres. Neither team strikes out all that much, and they haven't been scoring that much either. He got hit around a bit by Washington his last time out. Again, like Dane Dunning, he's a high strikeout, high walk kind of pitcher. He's striking out 10.3 per 9, 27% rate. The walk rate, or the walks per 9, though, 3.9. That's just, we can't have that. He's walking about 10% of batters, which matches what he put up last season, and it's still not all that great. He's giving up a lot of line drives and fly balls, but he's not getting pulled. His pull rate at just 27.8% is 10 points below league average. Miami has the lowest line drive rate in the league. The Padres the second highest. Miami has the highest ground ball rate in the league. The Padres are mid-pack there. He does get a boost because of the ballpark there. And this is another dude I like better in daily moves leagues. I love the start against Miami. I'll deal with the start against the Padres if I have to. You're going to get some strikeouts. He'll probably walk, 2 or 3 guys. If he walks 4, the strikeout upside can help him stay out of trouble. And hopefully that Mets offense shows up to help him out as well. All right. So now we've got a dude with some dual SP RP eligibility. And that is Jose Soriano of the Angels. He's got a couple road starts at the Diamondbacks and at the Giants. He's owned in just over 10% of leagues. How Arizona's doing, we talked about them a little bit earlier. The Giants have been pretty good. They're putting some runs on the board. They're not striking out too much, and they're taking their walks. In 13 games so far this season, Soriano's got 11 starts. He's 3-5 with an ERA a little north of 3.5. His expected ERA, FIP, and xFIP are right around there as well. He's got a 1.2 whip. He struck out 55, walked 26, and that's across 64 1/3 innings. And this dude, it's kind of funny. He seems to either give up 4 earned runs or next to nothing. He has 5 starts allowing 4 earned. He's got 6 starts allowing 0 or 1 earned runs. You talk about boomer bust. That's what this guy is. He was a starter his entire minor league career. He got called up last year and he appeared in 38 games as a reliever. And he's got a couple of relief appearances this year as well. He's shown some decent strikeout upside in the minors, but it's not really translated yet as a starter in the show. He's striking out a little more than 7.5 per 9, around 20%. And those are both a little bit below league average. His chase rate is decent. His whiff and swinging strike rates are both below average. The quality of contact isn't amazing either. His exit velocity, barrel rate, and hard hit rates are all in the bottom 30% of the league. To be fair, his velo is in the top 3% of the league, and fastballs account for over 50% of his pitches. So that explains some of the hard contact. The harder you throw, if somebody hits the ball, there's, I don't know, some kind of physics rule that says it's going to come off the bat hard as well. He gives up more contact than most, and his zone contact rate is just under 90%. Things would look a hell of a lot worse without his 60.3% ground ball rate. That's in the top 4% of the league. The Angels have scored the fewest runs in baseball in the last 15 days. So he's going to need to have some of those boom games to get you what you're looking for. He has gone 6 or more innings pitched in each of his last 4 starts. He's not the best option out there, but you can use him if you have to. So we got this chat is just popping off. Kyle is moving family across the country. He'd rather be doing the podcast. I believe it, kind of. So next up, we got a rookie for the Atlanta Braves, and he has managed to hold a rotation spot now for 2 starts, and that is Spencer Schwellenbach. He has starts at Baltimore and at home against Tampa. He's owned in just under 20% of leagues. I understand wanting to have a piece of the Braves rotation because we understand what that team can be, but wow, this dude has kind of struggled. Tampa Bay, we talked about a little bit earlier. Baltimore, they are the highest scoring team in the league over the past couple of weeks with power. They've got an 820 team OPS. Spencer is the Braves' number 3 prospect. He started 2 games. He's 0-2. He's got an ERA over 8, although his expected ERA and xFIP are half that. It still doesn't mean that they're good. He's got a whip of 1.5. He struck out 9, walked 3, and allowed 2 home runs over 9 2/3 innings pitched. The strikeout per inning is nice, but I just don't know how long he's going to stick in the rotation with this kind of performance. He got roughed up by Boston yesterday to the tune of 6 earned runs in 4 2/3 innings pitched. However, he's been incredibly efficient. He's throwing strikes 72% of the time. I'm not going to dive too deep into this dude simply because his spot in the rotation is shaky at best. His walks are okay. It's under 3 per 9. There is a ton of swing and miss with this dude, though. His chase rate and whiff rates are excellent, as is the swinging strike rate. But again, we're talking about a tiny sample size here. The quality of contact is rough. He's got an exit velocity over 90 miles an hour, and the hard hit rate is over 53%. Personally, I'm not starting him this week. I think he's really going to struggle at Baltimore, even though that plays a little bit more like a pitcher's park than it has in years past. But that Baltimore offense is just something else. They are on fire. And this dude has looked shaky each time he's towed the rubber. Leave him on your bench. I wouldn't be shocked if he finds his ass back down in the minors here in the next few days, just because of how he's performed. All right. So we got Luis Correa. This dude got Royce Lewis for free off of waivers. He's hoping for a big rest of the year for him and to stay healthy. That is a big thing. Congratulations. I need to start playing in leagues with you and James where you can find players like this that are available on the wire. In my home league, that is definitely not the case, although somebody stupidly dropped Framber Valdez the other day and my simple ass didn't notice it. So that was a little frustrating. So next on the docket, oh, hold on. Kelsey's got a question here. Is Michael Harris with the Braves any good? Yes, he is. He's not having the season that people were expecting so far, but the dude's got an absolute ton of talent. He plays in an awesome offense, and he spends some time down at the bottom of the order. But as he heats up, I expect him to rise back up. So now we are going to talk about my favorite pick for the week, and that is Chris Paddack of the Twins. He's got home starts against the Rockies and against Oakland. He's owned in about 16% of leagues. And look, the Rockies have come on a bit as of late, but they do their damage at home and they strike out quite a bit. We know who Oakland is. There's the little bit of pop there. They generally don't score a whole hell of a lot, but they do strike out quite a bit. So far this year, Paddack has been decent. He started 12 games. He's 4-3. He's got a 5.26 ERA, but the expected ERA is a run lower, and his xFIP is a run and a half lower. The whip is high at 1.42. He struck out 61, walked just 14. He's given up 11 home runs, which is a lot in just 65 innings pitched. Obviously, that whip is high, and it's being driven by his 10.8 hits per nine. The dude leads the American League with 78 hits allowed. But this is a perfect example of top-line stats being like a bikini. They show a lot, but they don't show everything. And even then, those numbers are skewed by a couple rough starts where he gave up 12 hits in a combined 10 innings pitched. And those 3 starts were against the Yankees twice, including his last time out, and against the Orioles. But the dude has gone at least 5 innings pitched in all but 3 starts. He's not a huge strikeout pitcher. He strikes out about 8.5 per 9, just over 21%. It's a hair below average, but he's gotten 6 or more strikeouts 5 times. His chase rate is excellent, over 30%. The whiff rate's a little below average, and his swinging strike rate is about average. Absolutely love the low walk rate, though, at just 4.9%. That's in the top 12% of the league. His quality of contact does leave a bit to be desired. His exit velocity and hard hit rate are a little below average, and a 10% barrel rate sure as shit is not good. Overall contact rates are right around average. There's no real concerns there. He does a good job of inducing weak contact, though. And this is a legit 4-pitch guy. He's got that 10-mile-an-hour delta between his 4-seamer and change, even though his velo is down a bit from last season. Taking a look at his batted ball data, that's all right around average as well. Look, because of these matchups and who they're playing, I'm starting him with confidence this week, and you should too. All right, look at that. Kelsey or Kyle's helping out in the chat too. So now we've got somebody, and this is someone else who we talked about a few weeks ago, we'll say 2-3 weeks ago. He was a desperation play, and that's Spencer Arrighetti of the Astros. He's got a road start at the Giants, and he's got a home start against my Detroit Tigers. He's owned in a little more than 10% of leagues, and surprisingly enough, the Detroit Tigers have been a top 10 run scoring team lately. Surprisingly enough, they strike out their fair share. They don't walk too much, but they are second in home runs over the last 15 days, which I was absolutely surprised to learn. He continues the trend this week of decent strikeout pitchers that just walk too many damn guys. The 24-year-old rookie this season is 3-5 across 10 starts. He's got an ERA just under 6. His expected ERA and xFIP are about a run and a half lower. The whip is awfully high at 1.6. He struck out 55, walked 26, only given up 5 home runs in 46 and 2/3 innings pitched. Quite frankly, the injuries that the Astros rotation is dealing with right now are what's helping him stay in the rotation. He's been fine, but considering what the Astros were looking to do this season, they need something a little bit better than fine. And he has been hurt by a slightly below average defense per defensive runs saved. Absolutely love the swing and miss, though. His whiff rate is in the top third of the league. His 12% swinging strike rate works. He's not really fooling hitters, though, if his 24% chase rate is any indication. Moving on to his quality of contact, it's a mixed bag. Exit velocity and hard hit rates are a little worse than average. The 6.8% barrel rate is pretty good, though. And he allows less overall contact than most at just under 74%. His zone contact rate is really good at 80.5%. Looking at his batted ball data, his 25% line drive rate is no bueno. That's the 5th highest among pitchers with at least 40 innings pitched, according to Fangraphs. But that also helps to explain his 370 BABIP. I think there's going to be some regression there. This dude took a 104-mile-an-hour comebacker to his calf the last time out, so it's possible his start against San Francisco gets pushed back, depending on how he's feeling, so you're going to want to keep an eye on that. I'm not thrilled about starting him, but he can be a good source of strikeouts, and if I am going to start him, hopefully I'm doing it in a 12-team league or something deeper than that. Kelsey says, ouch. You damn right. 104 miles an hour to anything is going to hurt. Holy shit, we're moving right along here. Faster than I thought. So next up, we have the first of 2 Oakland Athletics pitchers. And like I said, we're going through all of them that are under half owned. And the first one is J.P. Sears. He has starts at San Diego and at Minnesota. He's owned in 10% of leagues. San Diego, we've talked about. The Twinkies haven't really been putting many runs on the board, but they're keeping their strikeouts in check, and they're drawing a few walks. That's good because they're hitting just .211 as a team with a .293 on base percentage the past couple of weeks. For Sears, across 12 starts this year, he's 4-4, has a 4 flat ERA. His expected ERA is roughly the same, and his xFIP is 3/4 of a run higher. He struck out 45, walked 19, got taken yard 8 times across 67 and 1/3 innings pitched. And he's another boomer bust guy. He's got 6 starts of 4 or more earned runs allowed, and he's got 6 starts of 0 or 1 earned runs. And it's funny how many pitchers there are that are like that. They either get their ass handed to them or they do pretty damn well. He'll give you some innings, even if he's giving up runs. 10 of his last 11 starts, he's gone 5 or more innings. How valuable are those innings, though, if he's not striking dudes out? He's struck out 5 or more 5 times. He's got just a 6 strikeouts per 9, and he's striking people out at a 16% rate. And as you might have guessed, the whiff and swinging strike rates are not good. He does have the ability to get batters to chase, though, and that definitely helps. And his best attribute is his low walk rate, so at least he's not beating himself. He's only allowed 3 home runs since May 3rd in 34 1/3 innings pitched, and if you can keep the ball in the park, you can have some success. But his quality of contact is rough. Bottom 3 across the board. Bottom 3rd across the board. If I had to start him, it'd be against Minnesota since the offense is struggling a bit, but he's set to draw a tough matchup against their staff ace, Pablo Lopez. That said, I think he can coax a quality start this week if you have to run him out there. Dubo says the A is the worst team name in sports. And Kelsey adds on, moving to Sacramento until Vegas, and they're not even going to include Sacramento in their name. They just want to be called the Athletics. And then I saw that they wanted to play something like 10% of their games away, or their home games away from home, so they can help build their brand. The A's are a goddamn shit show. All right, so we've got a scrub starter to talk about next. This guy pitches for the Brewers, and boy, if you're running him out there, you're beyond desperate, and that's Colin Ray. He's got a couple home starts against the Blue Jays and against Cincinnati. Both of those teams have been scoring runs and have been hitting for some power. Cincinnati struck out quite a bit. Toronto's not as bad, but they're first and second in walks, and the Reds are leading baseball in OPS. Toronto is 10th over the last 15 days. This dude has appeared in 12 games. He's started 10 of them. He's 4-2 with a 3.5 ERA. His expected ERA is 2 runs higher. His xFIP is a run higher. He's got a 135 whip. He's struck out 44, walked 23, allowed 8 home runs in 63 2/3 innings pitched. This dude's been used behind an opener in 2 of his last 3 appearances, so take that 2 starts with a grain of salt. His StatCast looks absolutely awful. He's bottom 25% in pretty much everything at his best and bottom 5% at his worst. I ain't starting his ass, and neither should you, and that's all the breath I'm dedicating to him. Kelsey says, smash a like and subscribe. You damn right. If you enjoy the content we bring to you, this high effort, low quality content, make sure you subscribe. Doesn't cost you a thing, and it would mean the world to us. So James is back in a Roto League. What are your thoughts on Phillies starting pitcher Spencer Turnbull, available on waivers? It's an 18 league. Thanks. Great show. Hey, this is a great show because you guys are the greatest audience out there. Spencer Turnbull was on fire earlier this season, and then he got bumped from the rotation because of Taijuan Walker. I don't necessarily think that was the smartest move, but nobody cares what I think. I think he's somebody who, provided you are playing the matchups intelligently, can give you a pretty nice return. But I also have to think in an 8-team league, there might be some better waiver wire options out there for you. But if he's the best that your waiver wire has to offer, he's been pretty damn good this year and might be a decent pickup. It really comes down to just who you would need to drop to pick him up. So who do we got next here? Well, we've got Miles Mikolas of the Cardinals. He's got starts at home against the hell are they? The Pirates. And at the Chicago Cubs, he's owned in 10% or less than 10% of leagues, and that makes complete sense to me. Both of those teams are just outside the top 10 in runs. The Cubs are hitting for some power. The Pirates are not. The Cubs are mid-pack in walks. The Pirates don't walk. Across 13 starts this season, Mikolas is 4-6, an ERA just under 5.5. The expected ERA is about a run lower, and his xFIP is a little bit more than a full run lower. He's got a 128 whip. He struck out 53, only walked 14. He's given up 12 home runs, though, in 71 innings pitched. Really about the only thing you can count on him for is innings. He's got 7 starts of 6 or more innings pitched, and all 7 of those have been quality starts. He's actually given up 3 or fewer earned runs in 7 of his last 8, which I was completely surprised to find out. He doesn't beat himself. He's got an outstanding 4.7% walk rate. The dude isn't a strikeout pitcher. He never has been. He has just 1 season where he struck out more than 7 per 9, and his 6.7 per 9 mark this season is actually up a tick, but it's still not very good. Just because you're the best looking waitress at Denny's doesn't mean you're hot. His whiff rate is garbage. The swinging strike rate isn't a whole lot better. His hard contact is a little worse than average for the most part, but his 88.9 exit velocity isn't terrible. His batted ball data is around average. There's no real outliers there. He does do a decent job of forcing weak contact, though. All in all, he's around an average pitcher, but he tends to pitch either, just to either side of that mark. I'm not thrilled about it. I would roll him out there if I had to in 12-team leagues or deeper. I'd prefer to just pitch him against Pittsburgh if I had the option, if I'm in a daily moves league. Kelsey's asking if I got vodka, Matt. Well, if you're offering me a drink, I will take it. James says he's got Zach Wheeler, Aaron Nola, and Christopher Sanchez trying to capitalize on wins a bit after a slow start with his pitchers. Started trading for better pitchers. This week in my home league, I'm stacked up on Twins pitchers with, those amazing matchups there. Definitely love Wheeler. Nola's pitching damn well. Christopher Sanchez, I'm not 100% sold on, but he's done well so far. Ride the pitchers while they're hot, man. It sounds like you're making some moves there and making some improvements. So now we've got the other half of the Oakland A's two-step, and that is, where the hell is it at? Joey Estes of the A's. He's got those 2 road starts at San Diego and at Minnesota. He's owned in just 3% of leagues. There's a bit to like here with this A's rookie. He's only started 5 games. He's 2-1. Got an ERA a little over 4.5, but his expected ERA is sitting at 3.08. His xFIP is, right around 4.3, but he's got a whip under 1. He's struck out 25. He's only walked 6. He's given up 2 home runs in 27 innings pitched. And the first thing about him I see is that he keeps the ball in the yard. Now, pitching in Oakland certainly helps out with that, but he also doesn't beat himself. He's got a nice looking walk rate. His swing and miss isn't out of this world. His 11.5% swinging strike rate is a little bit better than average. He's got a decent amount of deception, though. He's got a 30.5% chase rate, and he's striking dudes out at a 23% clip. He's been very efficient so far. 70% strike rate across his 5 starts. This dude gives up a lot of hard contact, though, and he gives up a little more than average amount of overall contact. There's going to be some regression coming, though. This guy has a 57% fly ball rate, but just a 4.7 home run to fly ball rate. That shit does not mesh. He's been outstanding in his last 2 starts, though. 10 strikeouts, 2 walks, just 3 hits, 1 earned over 11 1/3 innings pitched. And that includes 6 1/3 innings of 1 hit ball against Seattle yesterday. He's definitely a risky play because the run support is iffy, but he's been hot, and I think he's earned a look. The Minnesota started to be the better of the 2. If I had to roll him out for both, I would. And I do like him a little bit better than some of the other guys that we have talked about so far. Kelsey's saying no in the Red Cup. You never know. I got to keep myself lubricated for this, especially since I'm flying solo. I'm very happy you like hot guys too, Kelsey. So next up, this is a name that we have not talked about at all this season, and for a damn good reason, and that is Patrick Corbin of the Nationals. He has a start at Detroit and at home against Miami. This dude has allowed the most hits and most earned runs in all of baseball. I don't understand how he's even 2% rostered, but it better not be any of you that are out there watching. And if it is, I have failed you. Under no circumstances should you start him. And that's all I got to say about that. Next up, though, we got a Rockies pitcher, Dakota Hudson. He's going on the road to Minnesota, and he's got a home start against Pittsburgh. This dude's just 2% owned. He started 12 games this year. He's 2-7, got a 5.25 ERA. His expected ERA and xFIP are right around there as well. And a whip north of 1.5. He struck out 35, walked 33 in 61 2/3 innings pitched. However, his numbers are significantly better on the road. Just a 200 average against, a 283 on base, and a 575 OPS. He struck out 18 with a whip that's a fine 1.13. He's given up 13 earned runs in 34 1/3 innings pitched. And for all the bad that's in those numbers, this guy has an outstanding 53.9% ground ball rate, and he keeps the ball in the yard. But quite frankly, he's not going to give you much besides some empty innings. The Rockies' offense isn't great, and they're bottom 5 on the road. He might be able to score a quality start at Minnesota, but I would not start him at home. And he is a deep league play only. All right. We got Loud Boy in the house. What's going on, brother? Appreciate you coming through. All right. So we got 2 more guys here. This is just moving right along. Jake Woodford of the White Sox. He's got starts at Seattle and at Arizona. He is owned in 0% of leagues. This dude has made just 1 start so far this season, and he was used primarily as a reliever the past few years. He started 8 games last season for St. Louis, and he was pretty shaky. In his one start, he went 4 1/3, gave up 5 hits, 3 earned, struck out 4 and walked 2. And just over his career, he's been quite hittable. He hasn't shown himself to be a strikeout pitcher, even when he was working in relief and had the opportunity to go max effort for an inning or two. I'm not expecting the roughly 1 strikeout per inning to stick. That said, we know how Seattle loves their strikeouts. Toronto absolutely smoked the ball against his ass in a 7-2 Jays win. If you're desperate for strikeouts, I guess you could run them out there against Seattle, but even then, that's only in the deepest of leagues. He was called up to replace Mike Clevinger, so his time in the rotation is likely limited, especially when he, is performing like that. But there is no return date for Mike Clevinger as of yet. This dude is the desperation play of desperation plays. Like I said, there's maybe a little bit of strikeout upside in that Seattle start, but that's pretty much it. All right. Now, every week as we go through these 2-start pitchers, typically we'll talk about some we like. Today, I switched it up and just said, screw it, I'm going to talk about them all. And we usually will throw in a higher-owned pitcher that we are not fond of running out there. And this week is no different. And this week's honoree is Brady Singer of the Royals. He's got to start at home against the Yankees, and then he goes to Chavez Ravine to play the Dodgers. He's owned in 83% of leagues. And I really had to rack my brain. I cannot think of a more unappealing pair of teams to face for a 2-step. I mean, that's damn rough. Neither team is striking out much. The Yankees are third in runs and home runs with an .815 team OPS over the past couple of weeks, and they draw a lot of walks. The Dodgers, to be fair, they've struggled a bit at the plate, but we know who they are. He's having a good season so far. He started 11 games. He's 4-2, got a 2.63 ERA. His expected ERA is a couple runs higher, and his xFIP is a run higher. He struck out 64, walked 19. Gone, he's had 6 home runs hit against him, which isn't bad at all, and 61 2/3 innings pitched. Strikeouts are nice. He's sitting at a 25% rate, though both his whiff rate and his swinging strike rate are below league average, and he's not fooling many batters either with his 26.4% chase rate. This dude gets a ton of called strikes, though. The quality of contact allowed isn't great either. His exit velocity is about average. His barrel and hard hit rates are both well below average. He gives up an average amount of contact, though his zone contact is high at 90%. He gets a big boost from his 51% ground ball rate and one of the better defenses behind him. And look, I certainly understand the argument to start him. He's pitched quite well this season, but based on some of these underlying metrics, I feel there's some regression coming. And if a pitcher is going to regress, chances are it's going to be in a week when he has starts against the Yankees and Dodgers. Now, it doesn't mean the dude is going to be trash, but if there was ever a week to sit a pitcher that's done as well as he has, this is the week. And quite frankly, I just don't like the Royals. So piss on him. Put him on the bench. Kelsey talking that shit about the Dodgers. They're up 4-2 right now. Congratulations. That's a hell of a squad. Holy shit. And there's just a handful of starters that I have any semblance of just a teensy bit of confidence running out there. Tarek Skubal's one of them. Paul Skeens, I mean, he looked pretty damn good, especially for a rookie. But we're going off on a tangent here. So that was pretty fun. Went a lot faster and a lot smoother than I thought it would. And again, if you're in here and enjoying the show, hit that like and subscribe button. We're here every Tuesday and Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern. Tuesdays, it's more hitting focused and waiver wire focused. Every Thursday is our 2-start pitcher stream. It's my favorite stream of the week. I absolutely love talking about pitchers. It's so much fun, really getting a chance to dig in and dive into the data. And in those head-to-head formats, be they head-to-head roto or in points leagues, those 2-start pitchers are like fantasy gold. That's going to wrap it up for this week. I appreciate everybody stopping by. You guys are the absolute best audience there is out there. Until next time, stay stoned, folks.